Welcome to the next episode of the Dark Web Deacon. Before we begin, be sure to smash that subscribe button, click the bell to turn on notifications. New videos are published every Monday and Thursday, and as always, be sure to like and provide comments. In this episode, we're going to look at denial of service and distributed denial of service attacks, also known as DDoS attacks. What is the fundamental difference between the two? Well, in a denial of service attack, it's when a computer is used to flood a server with TCP and UDP packets, whereas in a DDoS attack, it's when multiple systems target a single system with a denial of service attack. The resulting impact of DOS or DDoS attacks are really the same. The result of these kind of attacks is like trying to get onto a highway that is in the middle of a traffic jam. You can't gain access to the highway, but even if you happen to find a way, you're barely able to move. The same thing happens to a website experiencing a denial of service attack. The website will become unavailable or extremely slow. Unlike attacks that are designed to enable the attacker to gain access or increase access, denial of service doesn't provide direct benefit for the attacker. Aside from the satisfaction of actually doing the denial of service and pulling it off, sometimes another purpose of a DOS attack can be to take a system offline so that a different kind of attack can be launched. Generally, 4 actors participate in successful denial of service attacks, and they are the attacker, the handlers, the agents, and the victim. The attacker initially attempts to bring some hosts in a network under its control by compromising them. The handlers include some malicious software, like malware, residing on remote machines that are used by the attacker. The purpose of choosing a set of victimized computers to launch denial of service attacks is mainly to overcome the possibility of tracing the attack back to the attacker. The agents, the third set of actors, are the ones responsible for performing the attack. They typically consist of software on compromised machines through which the attack is performed. And finally, the victim, the fourth actor, may be a single machine, a server, or a network of many machines. There are different types of denial of service attacks. The 5 most common are TCP SYN flood attacks, teardrop attacks, Smurf attacks, botnets, and pings of death. And we're going to briefly walk through each of these. A TCP SYN flood attack. In this attack, an attacker exploits the use of buffer space during a TCP session initialization handshake. The attacker device floods the target system's small in-process queue with connection requests, but doesn't respond when the target system replies to those requests. This causes the target system to time out while waiting for the response from the attacker's device, which makes the system crash or become unstable when the connection queues eventually fill up. Next up is the teardrop attack. So when data is sent across the internet via email, a video, you name it, it is broken up into small chunks called packets. These packets are then reassembled at the destination so the email and video, etc., can be put together and reviewed or played. This attack causes the length of the fragmentation offset fields in sequential packets to overlap one another on the attacked host. The attack system attempts to reconstruct packets during the process, but fails because it isn't able to reconcile the different offset numbers. The target system then becomes confused and usually ultimately crashes. Next is a Smurf attack. This attack involves using IP spoofing and ICMP, which is another type of internet protocol, to saturate a target network with traffic. The attack method uses ICMP echo requests targeted as broadcast IP addresses. These ICMP requests originate from a spoofed victim address. So for instance, if the intended victim address is 10.0.0.10, the attacker would spoof an IMCP echo request from 10.0.0.10 to broadcast address 10.255.255.255. This request would go out to all IPs in that range because it's a broadcast request, with all the responses going back to 10.0.0.10, overwhelming that network address. This process is repeatable and can be automated to generate huge amounts of network congestion. Next up is botnet attacks. So botnets are thousands or millions of systems affected with malware under attacker control in order to carry out a denial of service attack. These bots or zombie systems are used to carry out attacks against the target systems, often overwhelming the target system's bandwidth and processing capabilities. These DDoS attacks are difficult to trace because botnets are located in differing geographic locations. For more detailed information on bots and bot networks, check out my previous video, What is a Botnet? And lastly is a ping attack. This type of attack uses IP packets to ping a target system with an IP size over the maximum 65 kilobytes. IP packets of this size are not allowed, so attacker fragments the IP packet. Once the target system reassembles the packet, it can experience a buffer overflow and crash because the reassembled packet size is over the maximum limit of 65 KB. While these 5 attacks that we just went over are not an exhaustive list of all types of denial of service attacks, they do give a representative sample. And there are different ways to prevent these type of denial of service attacks, from disabling certain internet protocols to blocking specific ports, to placing servers behind a firewall configured to stop inbound SYN packets, increasing the size of connection queues and decreasing the timeout on open connections, also disabling IP direct broadcast to routers, and even blocking specific types of firewall traffic that will check for fragmented packets based on a specific maximum size. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like, subscribe, and provide comments, and turn on notifications by clicking the bell in order to check out future videos published twice a week.